So it wound up ending my National Guard, Air Force National Guard career and my law enforcement career all at the same time.
And again, like that's stuff that we had, like that was the plan. Hey guys, welcome to the show. I'm your host, Torie Mathis, and I am here with the one and only Sean Mathis, founder of Miles Through Time Automotive Museum.
Hey, that's me.
So Sean started Miles Through Time back in 2017.
That's right. So
Sean became an entrepreneur then. Before that, Sean worked corporate and came and worked for me. I though have been an entrepreneur a little bit longer, since 2007 officially. And I was thinking about this, and I don't even know why I didn't think about it before, but Sean and I both, our entrepreneurial journey actually came from injury. Both of us got seriously hurt, totally changed our life path, our career path, kind of threw a wrench into plans at different times, like totally different times in our life, but it's
both
kind
of ended our military careers as well.
Mm-hmm. And I don't know why I didn't even think about it. Maybe it's just like one of those things that you kind of overlook, but something like super serious is what got us on to this whole entire entrepreneurial journey. And I guess you never really know when that kind of stuff's going to happen. Like when I got hurt, I was in the Army. I broke my hip. And after September 11th, they didn't want me in anymore. And so I actually got med boarded out. But part of me getting out of the Army is I was allowed to do this vocational rehabilitation program. And in order for them to do that, I had to give them my GI Bill, which meant I didn't get money for college. But in turn, as long as I took all these tests and I did something that they said that they could like guarantee-ish, right, that I was going to be good at, they would pay for all of my schooling so that I would be completely retrained because I wasn't going to be in the Army anymore. And I said, absolutely, because, I was only in the Army for a couple years before I got hurt. And so, I really enjoyed it. I thought I was going to be in a really long time. I liked it. I liked that I got to live in Europe. I thought it was awesome. And that was the plan. Like I ended up liking it a lot more than I thought I was going to. It was good for me. But shit didn't happen like I expected it to. And so, having my hip broken and having to go through all of that kind of sent me on that journey. I ended up taking all these tests. I wanted to be a teacher. I wanted to be an adult teacher. I wanted to be some type of trainer for like corporate. They said, no, you need to be a commercial designer. It's like, that is crazy. Like always been a little arty, but never thought I could actually do that for like a real career. And so I went to advertising school, got a degree in advertising. I had to I think they required like 3 months of an internship to allow me to graduate. And I was able to actually get a job at a real estate publishing house while I was still in school. And so that I actually had a paid job and they actually had that count as my internship.
I forgot about that part.
Yeah. And so I ended up working for this lady that was like amazing. She was like full entrepreneur, had done all these cool things and kind of set up a little bit of like what we did at first, because her husband worked corporate and had like a steady job, good job that like always paid the bills. And so that allowed her to be an entrepreneur and try a lot of different things. She was very creative and she really gave me the reins at things and really kind of showed me how to like job cost things and do all these different things that I would have never really known. I had done like some office assistant type things before I did that, like while I was going to college and things like that. But I had never actually like got the real part of like what it was to run a business. And thank goodness she did that, because in 2008, when the real estate market came crashing down, I guess it was actually 2007 when it like started, like all of our clients, lots of them didn't make it and didn't end up being realtors after that. And so we did real estate magazines for people. That's all the magazines that we did. And so the publishing company went from, we had like 53 clients that we did monthly magazines for. And I think we did it down to like 4. And you can't run a business with 4 clients, not that kind. And so that kind of like violently thrust me into entrepreneurship. But like that hip injury is really what started it. Like that, if I wouldn't have had that, I would have stayed in the Army. Like who really knows? Who knows where I would have been? But I don't think that entrepreneurship would have necessarily been my path, which that would have sucked. Like that injury might have been the best thing that ever happened to me because, man, I love what I do now. I love the freedom of what I do. I love that I get to try all these new things.
It's like the exact opposite of the Army.
It is. You know what though? The Army like so prepared me for where I'm at now too. Like I am so happy that I had that opportunity, not only to go through things and to be able to be forced to do like crappy stuff. Like who wants to walk 10 miles in the rain? Like, you know, you got to go through stupid, dumb stuff sometimes to get what you want. Like that embrace the suck type of thing. Like stuff is going to suck sometimes. And I'm really glad that I was able to go through that. And yeah, I think it definitely helped with where I'm at now, being a business owner. So, and I didn't even, you know, I always think about you, like your injury kind of like made it.
It's more recent.
And that probably is why. Like because I had already owned my own business and I had been doing it since 2007, I always wanted Sean to be able to like, come work with me. Like it was always nice that we had that thing that you had the more steady job and everything. But I really didn't know how that was going to happen. And I think in the last couple of years, like we really talked about it, but there were just some things that like, it's hard to make that adjustment. But you know what? Hurting your back and having to have back surgery, apparently that'll thrust you pretty good.
It takes 2 times.
Okay.
The first one, I was still too nervous. And in 2011, I wound up having a emergency back surgery because I couldn't do anything without just excruciating pain.
And it came on so fast.
Yeah, and that once that happened, like the amount of pain that I had went away from the nerve part of it that I had, but the overall back issue, it didn't go away, and so it wound up ending my National Guard, Air Force National Guard career and my law enforcement career all at the same time.
And again, like that's stuff that we had, like that was the plan. That was like, I was going to be in the Army, you know, originally, like Sean was going to be in law enforcement. Sean's dad is in law enforcement and, you know, went until he retired, and Sean was a good fit for it too. And I really thought that was what we were like, that was the plan.
Well, that was, I mean, in the area that we were at, I mean, I got paid good too. I mean, and it was a process to even get to that point, because before that I was working for Pepsi and doing all that. And then we had a major life change. We had our first son. We moved to a whole new state. We no longer had our house in California. I mean, there was a lot of stuff there, and I had to change guard bases. And then, you know, I got hurt and did that. And after that, we then made the decision to then completely move to the other side of the country. And I wound up still not being confident enough to, you know, full on go the entrepreneurial route.
But you know, that I think during that time though, that was like a really big time for my business. I took a couple of training courses that were really good, like while you were still in law enforcement. And it just like my whole mindset changed. And that was when I first started actually making money. Like I made a little bit of money, but like that was the first time that I'm like, holy shit. And so when we moved, like there was like, you know, and you going between jobs and things like that. I think even when right before law enforcement, like right in that time, like you had like a month that you didn't work, but we were okay. I was like, wow, like my little business, my little design business, you know, actually kept us afloat. And I think that for me at that time, once we moved and then you switched jobs a couple times once we got to the East Coast, like I was getting there. My confidence was getting a little bit better.
Say that.
What part?
Yeah, when we went to the East Coast, the original job that took us over there,
that's just true.
It sucked. And then I got another job and it sucked. And then I wound up going back to Pepsi.
But that's the whole purpose. Like stuff doesn't work out, and you can't plan for everything. Like Sean ended up finding like a great job that allowed us to move across the country. Sean went a month ahead of the kids and I, and the kids and the dogs and I drove across the country to meet Sean a month later.
Just in time for me to...
I got there and Sean's like, this job fucking sucks. It's so horrible. Like, Like, who would have known? But that's, you know what?
Pivot. I went to something else that...
It sucked too! Yeah. But that was okay. But again, we were still in that whole, like, I have the entrepreneur thing. We need health insurance.
Right.
That was a thing. Like, so stupid too. Health insurance is what kept us from, like, really trying to branch out. Health insurance, and before, like, it was really hard. Like, it was hard to get health insurance that was at all affordable if you weren't with a company. And things have changed in the last, I don't know, few years that have made it that we finally just, we had to do it. But Sean hurt his back again. First one didn't do it.
Yeah, I wound up going back into repairing Pepsi equipment, which wound up putting me into some peculiar situations that was not ideal for my back injury. And it wound up doing it again to the point to where I had to have another surgery. But I was down from Pepsi as far as not being able to work for them, which enabled me to kind of embrace Torie's business a little bit more while I was injured, because all I have to do is, be behind a computer screen to do stuff. And so I really was able to, like, kind of take it to a whole nother level, more so than I had ever done before, even though I've always been vice president and way up there in the executive level, all kinds of power. But it didn't do anything. And so when I actually got to do that, then it was like, well, do I go back, after this injury and potentially it happens again, or do I find another job and start this whole process over? Or do we just jump and just see what we can do? And that's been 7 years.
It's been a while. It has been a while. And it freed us up so much. Like, I love law enforcement. I love the military. But you know what? Like, Sean's National Guard career kept us in one spot. Like, we couldn't go anywhere because every month, once a weekend, like one weekend, he had to go there. Like, we couldn't really go anywhere. And then Sean having a regular job, we couldn't really go anywhere. Like, we were stuck. And so now the only thing that makes us stuck is, like, we have to go around the kids' school schedule. But once Sean went out and we were able to put all that time into the same thing and be able to move forward, man, it gave us so much freedom. We were like, we can go anywhere now. Where do you want to go? Well, we lived on a lake, but we lived on, like, the little bit of the lake. Like, we're like, let's live on a lake. What lake? I don't know. You know what Sean did? Sean pulled out, Google Maps and just started looking at lakes. And we took trips and we went and visited some lakes to see where we wanted to go. And we went and found a lake. And you know what? We didn't like it there.
Yeah, that lake took us to Lake Hartwell. So that's how we then made our way to Georgia.
I shouldn't say that. Okay. We did like the lake. The lake was beautiful. I really enjoyed living on the lake.
The house was awesome.
It was the most beautiful house I've ever lived in, but it was kind of in the sticks. Like, it was way out. Like, everybody on our road, they were, like, either retired or it was like a vacation house.
Yeah, they were second homes.
And so us having, like, Bella in kindergarten and Riley in second grade or third grade, like, it was just, that was not the right place for us at that time. Luckily, the kids were really little, so being in a little school, like, it worked. It was okay, and we spent 2 years there. Beautiful, beautiful house. But it got us to Georgia, and we found that we like Georgia, and that's where we're gonna stay for the kids to hopefully go to school. And, like, we like it here. Like, I think we kind of found our place. But moving to that lake, even though that wasn't for us, like, that's okay, because then we were near Toccoa, which ended up having Sean being able to have an absolutely awesome opportunity to become an entrepreneur on his own. All stemming from like disaster after disaster, things that we didn't know that was going to happen. Like, you can't plan for that kind of stuff. And so, you could think, like, well, that back injury ruined everything, and you could just be bitter about it and pissed off that it ruined my military career. It ruined Sean's law enforcement, and that was the plan. And we were supposed to have pension, right? Like, Sean could still be bitter about the shit right now, but you know what? Like, it's what got us here. And, it took a while. It took, like, some fucked up jobs and, like, places we shouldn't have lived and, like, all these different things, like, to get to this point?
Yeah, it was hard because the first time, I was in a position where I was going to be making 70 grand a year, with 4 days off, every week. And I had finished my degree, so I was going to become an officer in the military, which would have paid pretty handsomely as well.
And that is one thing too, is that we got student loans for Sean, so that because the degree that he was getting was a box check that he needed for being an officer, and then for law enforcement, for him to, be able to move further along. And so now nobody cares if Sean has a degree. No. We still have student loans.
No. And I mean, it definitely, initially, it was a step backwards, big time. It was depressing, really. But we just kept trying to go forward and realizing, instead of wallowing in that, well, this sucks, it's like, hey, this sucks. Let's do something different.
Right. And it's one of those, like, sometimes, like, to jump, you got to get down in order to get up. So it's like, it's okay if we go back, because that's what you need to propel forward. And then you got to go back, and then you have to propel forward. Like, we never go back too far, but it's definitely back enough that we're like, ooh, this isn't cool. Like, we don't want to be right here. But that's what you need to get that momentum. Like, sometimes you got to be uncomfortable. You got to be like, I don't want to live here anymore, Sean. But I went home. My mom ended up being really sick, and I had to go home back to California. We had been living on the lake for almost 2 years, a year and a half, and it was beautiful. But it was like, if you wanted to go to the grocery store, it was like a 30-minute drive.
One way.
One way. If we wanted to go to like bigger stores, like you want to go to Target, or you want to go to TJ Maxx, or, you want to do anything like that, like 45 minutes, an hour, like.
Not to mention the internet's awful, inexpensive, and all these other just things that you're used to when you don't live in a rural area.
And so, like, the lake was nice. So I ended up having to fly home, and it was very inconvenient for everybody else to go. And it was just because my mom was sick. And so I flew home by myself, and I stayed with my dad and my mama there, and went and visited my real mama. But while I was in Sacramento and while I was visiting my dad, like, I went out to restaurants, and I'm like, there's people out everywhere. They're doing all kinds of stuff. Like, we're stuck in this lake, and it's just us in this beautiful house, but there's like nothing going on around us. And I came back, and I'm like, we got to move. Like, we have to. Like, I wish Sean would have been there with me, because I know you would have felt the exact same way, that I'm like, this isn't us. Like, I love nature, and I love being on the lake, and I love all this stuff, but we're like on this little island, and our kids are on this island. Like, we need to be out doing things. And like, I think we're supposed to live in the city, at least in the suburbs. You know what I mean? Like, that's where we're supposed to be. Like, this isn't right.
And if we were older and retired, like, it would be fantastic. But in the mental state that, like, it's still, we need to get clients and make money and do things with our kids easily without it taking 2 hours round trip to get to a destination. So I mean, although it was nice, it wasn't for us at this time. I mean, in fact, that 2 years was the first time well, I take that back. Right at the end, right before we moved, within that 2 years, we had finally gotten a client.
Oh, because everywhere we've ever moved, like, we always, like, we get all these clients, and it's always from people we know or where we go.
I got people that I worked with that became clients of Torie's.
People that the kids went to school with.
Yeah, it's just everywhere we went. Everywhere we picked up clients as we went. And this place, we even donated a website to the local chamber there, because it was so bad. We just, like, you guys need this. Let us help you. And we did, and it said Lake Shark Media did it and all that kind of stuff. So it was incognito, but obviously we did it. But nothing. Nobody wanted to do anything until right at the end, somebody was like, "Hey, I need a new website." It's a very simple one, and he wound up doing it, and he's still a client to this day. But that was it. And then so we moved, and it was within months. Our neighbor.
Yeah.
Is now a client. So, I mean, we went right back into how it should have been.
Right.
Because you get around people and I mean, like-minded, same type of thing, and we just start to mesh with stuff. But being out there on our own little island with people that are in, retired mode, or they're in a mental state that, we're not relatable, there's nothing there for us.
Yeah.
And so, but being aware of that was huge.
But I always think, like, I'm still so happy that we moved there. Like, we had a great time.
It served its purpose.
It absolutely did, and it opened up so many new doors. But it's okay that we got there and it wasn't right. Like, stuff isn't going to be right. And yes, it wasn't like, back injuries or breaking your hip or whatever. It wasn't like a huge disaster, but it was still enough that it was like a little back, and then we got to push forward. And we got to push to what feels right. And you know what? Maybe where we are right now, looking back in like 5 years, maybe we'll be like, wow, I can't believe we were there. That wasn't really right either. Or maybe something bad's going to happen in the next, and not bad, but who knows? Like maybe something else is going to happen, because it probably is, that's going to have us be that back that we need to push forward again.
Well, shoot, we had, before we moved on the lake and we were on that little tiny finger, like the only way to really get on the lake was to have a boat. So we went down that road and we're like, all right, we want to live lake life, like legit lake life. And we got a boat. So now the mental thought is, we're going to go live on a lake. We've got our own dock. We've got our own boat. Like, this is going to rock. Guess what happened?
Kids didn't want to go on the boat.
We wound up selling the damn boat. We used it a handful of times. In fact, the only real time, 2 times I can think of that we used the boat, really, was one, I drove it all the way down to the marina to get gas and back. And the other time, we were out just kind of playing, and the damn dog jumped off the dock and tried catching us. He almost died if we wouldn't have seen him.
This dog is not like a water dog either. I don't know what the heck he was thinking.
He was so exhausted by the time we dragged him up onto the boat.
He was like not in just like a little part. He was like out in the middle of the lake. We're like, what the heck is that?
Yeah.
I think that's a dog. Holy shit, that's our dog!
Yeah. No, he was nowhere near the house, but somehow he caught us in his eye and he went for us. And those are the only 2 times I can think of that we ever actually really used the boat. Because other than that, it was jumping off the dock.
Yeah, the kids discovered that they could jump off the dock. We put like a rope swing off the dock, and they didn't have to wear life vests. And they're like, well, if I have to wear a life vest on the boat, like, I just want to swim off the dock. And we got paddle boards and kayaks, and so we still got out and about a little bit, but yeah, it wasn't where we wanted. But you know what? We ended up selling the boat. We got on TV with the boat. We were on Boat Buyers. Yeah. And like we made it it ended up being this whole thing that was like crazy.
Yeah, you can look up Boat Buyers Lake Norman edition. Ours is the Black Widow boat. Yeah, a cool story. I mean, it is what it is, whatever, right?
But these things are going to happen. Shit's always going to happen. It's not going to work out. Things are going to happen that confuse you, that make you think that it's like the worst thing, and sometimes at the time it is, but whatever it is, like if you can think like, how can I make this a good thing and a positive thing? And I'll tell you, when I broke my hip and got out of the Army, and I was young, at the time, like I didn't have like a lot of job skills or life skills, so I think these things kind of get a little bit easier as you have some of those.
They gave you a $100,000 degree from the Academy of Arts in San Francisco, like that. How would you have ever done that any other way?
I never would have. I never would have been able to. Like ended up being an amazing, amazing opportunity to get a fantastic education that, there's no way I couldn't have just like planned. You can't plan this kind of stuff. But you can always take whatever the situation is and figure out how you can make it work for you. And I think that it's okay that you push forward without knowing what's going to happen. And I think you don't really want to plan too much, because every time I plan for bad stuff, like what bad could happen, and be kind of aware, I think that's a good thing to do. But when I really like plan for it, like that's never the stuff that happens. It's always some weird ass stuff that you never ever would have been able to plan. Just like miles through time. Like we couldn't have planned that. We could have been like, why don't we move to Georgia and open up an automotive museum? Like that was not the plan, because we couldn't have planned for it. We're just pretty open, at least we try to be, for things that happen, and we try to say yes to stuff. Like, yeah, let's try it. Could suck.
Well, then in 2019, it came down to, do we close the museum, or is there another option?
Because it wasn't working out. And
it wasn't not working out.
It was not working out.
It was only me, and it was the circumstances, it wasn't going to work out. But the concept, as far as what we created, was still really unique and very cool, and enough so that I didn't want it to die, even though it was slowly dying.
I kept telling Sean, don't kill it. Don't say that you're closing. Say that you're moving. Just leave that open. Like, we don't know where we're moving to, but we're going to open in a new location. And there was no location, guys. There was nothing.
No,
but don't say that we're closing, because we're not. He spent all this time, 2 years, right? 2.5 years, getting into this and like building this brand online and like really kind of honing it in. And then like, you can't just kill it. So leaving that open, and you know what?
Another door opened
that like we never would have. You can't plan for it. So yes, it wasn't an injury, but it was that stuff wasn't working out and things had to change, and stuff somehow, I don't know, like it's amazing how things like that, you just kind of like put stuff out there, and you got to be willing to listen for it, willing to have the fact that like things will come to you. I really think it will for everybody. I do. Do you think that?
For sure. I mean, we've had it happen to us so many times now. I can't even count on my fingers. We've lived in so many different houses. Just the houses alone is crazy when you start to think about it. We moved last year when all this COVID stuff happened.
Didn't know we were going to move. I thought we were staying in that house another year or two.
We were in a rental, and it got dropped on us that the people that own the house wanted to move back in. What do you do?
Well, they're like, well, I know we told you that we were going to sign the lease again and that we weren't going to raise your rent, but just kidding, we're going to move in. We're like, can we leave at least a month early so that the kids aren't moving during milestones, which is like their state testing? They're like, no, you need to stay till the end. So we knew we were going to have to move, but it was way pushed out. And then like another month happened, and they're like, you know what? Just kidding. Can you get out now? Like we need to get in here. We're like, really? Woosah. Okay, we'll figure it out. And we moved within like a short period of time. It was pretty short.
Yeah, we wound up finding a place that,
we just had our 1 year anniversary in this house.
Yeah.
So not only did Sean like move the museum, and then he was supposed to open, and then COVID happened, and then our landlord's like, just kidding, we're moving in, get out. Like all like at the exact same time.
Which then also made it so that we had to, in the new house, get approval to move in earlier. And he's like, yeah, we should be able to make that happen. He should have told us no, because he was not ready.
We show up with a moving truck and all of our stuff, and all his stuff is still in this house.
Yeah, we've moved enough times that we're pretty efficient at it. He was not. And that was the worst move we've had so far.
I don't think it was that bad.
Compared to all the other ones?
I don't think it was that bad. Like, we didn't have to make a bazillion, like, trips.
It could have been worse.
It wasn't a million miles. Like, it could have been worse. It was inconvenient. But, he was nice. And, it is what it is. We got a pool now.
We got a pool.
Oh. So, you know what? No matter what crazy stuff happens, no matter what disasters happen, because they're going to happen, stuff is not going to go right. Things aren't going to happen how you planned.
Especially when it goes wrong. Use it as an excuse to try something different. Because a lot of times, like, it was so hard for me to pull away from a steady paycheck, knowing that I'd made X amount of dollars every week.
And we had health insurance paid.
Yeah. To say, no, I don't want that anymore. And to go jump into this world of unknown that maybe I don't bring any value to Torie's business. And now I just eliminated a steady paycheck and insurance. It was really hard to pull that trigger and actually do it. But, I'm glad I could. We would probably make more money if I went and got a whole nother job right now, but our lifestyle wouldn't be the same.
Even though, like, right now, that might be how it is, I think potential-wise, because, Master Time is still building up, you don't make a bazillion dollars having, $7 per person. So even though it's not, like a super huge moneymaker. And I think in the last few years, it's taken up so much of Sean's time just trying to build it up. I think that even though, like Sean said, like if he did go get a full-time job or something, like it's possible that like he would make more money than he's making right now. However, the potential would not be the same. Like that's the greatest thing about being a business owner is that you have unlimited potential and unlimited flexibility, which I have learned is my favorite thing in the whole world. I just want to be flexible. Like I want to be nimble. I don't want to be stuck in one place. I want to be able to take vacations. I want to grab my laptop and go somewhere else. Like we had an amazing opportunity a couple of years ago to go to Australia, and kids, like we planned it out where the kids only missed a couple days of school, and we went to Australia for 10, 12 days, something. And we were still able to work and still able to run our life like how we normally would, just without being there. And if Sean would have had a corporate job, we wouldn't have been able to do that.
Or I wouldn't have been able to do it.
Sorry, Sean, we going to Australia.
That's brutal.
Hope you have vacation time. Like, we're so happy that we don't have to worry about that. And you know what? Not having vacation time, that's so much better than, for sure insurance. Like, we figured out the insurance thing, and it sucked, but it's fine.
Insurance sucks.
It probably sucks for everybody. But, like, really, that was, like, the one thing that we're like, well, what about health insurance? It worked out, just like everything will. You might not see it right this second, but everything will. It'll be good. So if you like this episode, we would appreciate it if you would subscribe to our channel if you're not subscribed yet. And if you know somebody that would enjoy this, you could pass it on. That's how we're going to grow, and that's how we're going to reach more people, and we would very much appreciate it. And you can always find us on YouTube, and you can subscribe to us there. Or we are on all the different podcast channels. You can listen to us in your car while you're working out, if you want. So
ask your Alexa.
Right, you could ask Alexa. She'll play us for you. So we'll see you on the next one. Thanks. If you want to get smart tools to build your business, go to besmartaf.com.